Welcome to the Ultimate Tolkien Tournament. This is Middle-earth Madness. Welcome, everyone, back to the Chamber of Death for Night 3 of the Third Age Throwdown. How's everyone doing out there? Well, so far, I alone, Madness Maestro, flying solo without our panelists. No sweat, they'll be joining us shortly. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at how we got here. As we usually do, this is your first time joining us. Welcome, welcome. Glad you decided to. We usually kick the show off by starting with a look at the bracket. This is, after all, a tournament. So, tonight we will be dealing with the Isengard region. Top right of your bracket here. You can see this bracket updated, daily at least, probably more often than that. Every night after the fights, really, on MiddleEarthMadness.com. So here you are looking at the Isengard region, where we will focus our fights tonight. And the first one we have for you, Bilbo against Saruman. As we welcome in Patty Man to the Chamber of Death. How you doing, Patty Man?
Doing pretty well. I came to see Saruman take names.
Yeah, I was just going to say, good timing here, because as we'll show you in a minute, Saruman is on Patty Man's fantasy roster. So this will be a useful win for Patty Man. In fact, this is an essential win the rest of the way for Patty Man. Saruman is basically Patty Man. Do you have the full
I
costume
am
yet,
Saruman.
You are Saruman of many colors. That's right. So, yeah, that's our first fight of the night. That should be a good one. Well, a good one for Saruman. And then secondly, we'll do Boromir against Landroval. Quick reminder, this second round is our champions that have had buys and waiting through the play-in round for their challengers to emerge, right? So in this first one, of course, Bilbo beat Merry, advancing to take on Saruman, just as you'd see in any tournament bracket, right? The difference is, in this play-in round, if you didn't catch it, these fights were designed to be super close, right? And then the one seed would get their equivalent seed, easier seed to a 1 seed than the 4 seed, for example, right? So the 5 and the 6 played each other, and that was Landroval's victory over El Rohir, and he advanced now to take on Boromir in our second fight. Likewise with Thorin slaying Bolg advanced to take on Treebeard tonight. This is a conflict of interest for Engine Chief's roster, because he's got both these characters.
That's interesting. Does he want the upset for the points, or does he want the more
who could go
secure pick,
Right. Probably Treebeard would be the smart move there. But who knows, right? And then Gorbag down here defeated Glowing in a sort of an upset there, although not by seed. And he will advance to take on Smaug tonight. So that's our lineup. Now, switching gears slightly to the hook we've already baited here, which is, what are we doing with this fantasy concept? Great question. Glad you asked. Check this out. So this is basically a service that we cannot wait to roll out more widely. Okay. Right now, it's just a Google Doc. But lots of great ideas were born in Google Docs, right, Patty Man?
Oh, by far.
So really what this is, and what we hope to roll out, is a fantasy, pun very much intended, lineup, or a fantasy league. But instead of, sports dudes, like if you're playing a fantasy football league, instead of players, you draft Lord of the Rings characters. And so that's what we've done here, is sort of a proof of concept. Each of our founders and panelists that you're familiar with, if you've been watching the show for a while, has drafted a roster of Lord of the Rings characters. Right? So that's what you're seeing on your screen here. And the way you score points is you win fights in the tournament, as you see over here. Right? The deeper we get in the tournament, the more points these fight wins are worth. And then sort of an extra layer we put on it is upset bonus here. I feel like that's a little small on the screen. There we go. So upset bonuses. The way we get upset bonuses is you take the seed differential of the two characters that are fighting, and you multiply that by whatever round you're in. So right now we're in the second round. That's a 2 multiplied by the differential between the two seeds. So the example we saw last night was Farmer Maggot was a 10 seed. He defeated his 2 seed, Glorfindel. And so that was a 16-point upset bonus scored by Chucky in that case. So yeah, they become valuable as the thing goes on, and actually that kicked Chucky here with 119 points into first place so far in our fantasy league over Hanti, who was in second place with 116. So yeah, it's just a quick recap. Of course, Det Engine Chief, he's down here with 83. That's third place. Josh and Campy are tied for fourth with 20, and Pattyman with Saruman has some rough luck early, but Pattyman, you're hoping to still make a late run with Saruman, who is a 1 seed, so he's going to make noise, right?
He better. I mean, he's got to put my whole team on his back now, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it.
Exactly right. Let's do it indeed. All right. So that's where we're at. And our first fight of the night tonight is the aforementioned Bilbo against Saruman. So off the top, obviously in a 1 versus 12 or 1 versus 11, we're really expecting a beatdown. It should be a beatdown. Okay. But this is an algorithm, and you are never out of the fight. Kind of our tagline, right? But it's true. It's very much true. We've seen, we just mentioned the upset that occurred last night. There was another upset, actually, Azog over Aragorn. It was less by seed of an upset, right? That was an 8 against a 3. All right, an 8 beat a 3, and a 10 and Farmer Maggot beat a 2. It does happen. It can happen, and it'll happen again. But give me your thoughts on this first one. How's this one break down?
Well, this, like you said, should definitely be a beatdown, but Bilbo's got Sting, yes?
He does. He doesn't have the mithril coat that Frodo does, right?
Okay.
Because that
okay,
comment
that's good.
by one of our viewers here.
Oh,
pours his milk before his
worst
cereal.
kind.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
worst kind of man.
That was a what's the right word? That was just a ridiculous upset last night. I don't know how else to say it. And it's ruffling some feathers, understandably. And that's good. We like seeing that. We like ruffled feathers here in the Chamber of Death. That's really just the now that we have skin in the game, it makes all these fights a little more fun. That's kind of the idea with this fantasy league, right?
Oh yeah. So I think these hobbits have just proven time and time again how wily they are.
Mm-hmm. Wily is a good word.
It's just gonna be a nail biter for me, even though it shouldn't be.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And how could it not be? You need Saruman to win. Not just that, but we've proven already in the tournament that none of this is guaranteed, right? It really should be a beatdown. Of course, that's just not guaranteed. So here we are, right?
Yeah, after that Farmer Maggot performance, I will not put anything past a hobbit.
Yeah, exactly. So let's take a look at the numbers just to give it, its due attention here. So this is the for those unfamiliar, this is our battle engine projection sort of breakdown here. We'll zoom in a little bit. Green line is Saruman here in our graph. Blue line is Bilbo. Or, if it's easier on the eyes, look over here in the table. These are all the battle skills that will be used at various stages of the battle flow, right? And since I think we have some new folks tonight, I'll touch on that battle flow in just a second. But first, a look at the numbers. Saruman's strengths, obviously, as you can see here, he's pretty much maxed out on magic. Not a lot of characters in fact, no one is better than him at magic. Not even Sauron. No one is better than him in the spirit category either. Okay, so he's maxed out with 99s in both of those. Okay, cool. What does spirit do, right? What does magic do? Glad you asked. This is what drives the battle flow, all this stuff. So magic, for example, is the ability to wield divine power to enhance attacks. What it does, though, is it determines 1/3 of your damage dealt in the damage phase of the battle. Spirit, the other one. So these red ones at the top, these are offensive stats, right? And then your defensive stats are these blue ones in the middle. Green at the bottom are your range stats. So whenever we flash this screen, sort of as a reference point, it's easy to learn with just, at a glance or two. Offense at the top, defense in the middle, ranged at the bottom. This is again what drives the battle engine. Spirit, also maxed out for Saruman. That is 1/3 of the likelihood of withstanding damage. All right. So what are the other 2/3? Well, on defense, you withstand damage with toughness, 1/3, spirit, 1/3, and valor, 1/3. Okay. And then, so we're talking about withstanding and dealing damage. That's obviously how you beat a dude in combat. You withstand damage and you deal more damage than they can. So what we're talking about here in your whole battle flow is over here on the right, the extent of damage, those rolls that determine your ultimate damage. And again, they're rolls, right? So not literally with dice, but it's inspired by tabletop gameplay. So the algorithm sort of rolls digital dice, if you will. As you know, and as we've seen, anything can happen in a dice roll. But your odds are way, way better if you're rolling a dice with a character of 99 versus an opponent with 60, for example. You just have more dice to roll than your opponent, digitally speaking, right? And you're gonna, overwhelming majority of the time, come out on top with those rolls. So that's what we're doing with the battle flow. All your stats, drop it in the comments if you ever have questions like, oh, what the hell is going on with toughness or whichever stat we're looking at, right? We tend to walk through these just as a preview of the battle in the pregame like we're doing right now. So any advantages for Bilbo here? What are we looking at? Well, right here, you can see on the graph that his dexterity, as Patty Man already kind of mentioned, his dexterity is better than Saruman's. Okay. His striking with Sting is actually better than Saruman's. Saruman, keep in mind, doesn't have a blade like Glamdring. He has a staff. Now, in this battle, he's going to prefer to use his ranged combat. He almost always will, and it's his Istari incantations. Bilbo, meanwhile, is going to wield Sting. However, look at this.
Yeah, that's the lowest
because
percent.
of randomized. Sorry, go ahead, Pandy.
I was just saying that's the lowest percentage of favorable weapon I've seen in this whole tournament.
So, and this is another feature that's randomized. It's pretty cool in the battle engine. So, battlefield conditions vary from battle to battle, and it's completely random, right? It's kind of like your fog of war or your terrain or your weather conditions on any given battle. It's sort of the battle engine's way of injecting a layer of randomness. And what it does is it forces in certain situations, again randomly, each character to use their less preferable weapon, right? So Saruman strongly prefers ranged because his striking sucks. He doesn't have a sword, right? So, well, it doesn't suck. It's 72, but it's not elite, right? It's not very good. And Bilbo, he literally hunks rocks as his ranged attack. So he doesn't want to use ranged. Saruman doesn't want to use melee. However, they're both going to have to in this. All of that said, we've already probably said too much because it's overwhelmingly favorable that Saruman wins this.
I do see, though, a strikingly high amount of spirit for Bilbo. That's interesting. I wonder why that's so high.
So think of it, and we touched on this, and I think in a previous stream. It's a little bit like your fate. So spirit isn't just magic; it's heavily inspired by magic. So obviously your magical elves and your Maiar characters, Balrogs and wizards, they're going to have higher spirit. Okay. However, creatures like hobbits also are fate-driven characters. We see that in the narrative, right? A fate. Tolkien says it, right? Fate sort of drove you to find that one ring, almost as if it was ordained, intended, by the gods or what have you, right? It's an element of fate. He was meant to find the ring. So he does have more spirit just because he's a fated character. Does that make sense?
Plot armor.
Pretty much, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so he has, let's see, what is his spirit? 88. Yeah, you're right. It's very good. He is maybe one of the most fate-driven characters in the stories, right? Frodo too, but those two, a freaking wizard shows up at your door and says, "Hey, you have some Tookish blood. You might be willing to be a burglar for a day or two with us, right? Come with us." What? Wait, what? Adventures make one late for dinner. Hobbits don't do this kind of thing, and then the next thing you know, he's in Mirkwood, right? So, or in the Trollshaws. He's a fate-driven character. There you go. So, without further ado, let us see a beatdown, shall we? Or is that jinxing it? Let's not say that. Let's say...
See a good fight.
Let's see a good fight here. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let's see a good fight here. We got to be careful with this. I totally jinxed Aragorn in that last fight, too.
That was hilarious.
that was kind of funny. Yeah, after my speech about fate, let's not tempt the fates, shall we? All right, so let us fight. In our first fight of the night, in the Isengard region, we have Saruman against Bilbo. Let us fight. The first attack to Saruman wounds. Barely any damage. Tink! Bilbo counters, misses. Saruman can't engage. Bilbo engages, hits, wounds! A slight smite. And Bilbo takes the lead with a rock throw. Hey man, must have hit him in the head. Saruman must dodge. Now, Saruman comes back. Engages, hits, wounds! Only a slight tink with the Astari incantation. Bilbo with the lead through 5. Attacks again, misses. Saruman attacks, misses. Bilbo attacks, engages, can't hit. Saruman can't engage, the wily hobbit. Bilbo attacks, can't hit. Saruman engages, hits, does no damage. Bilbo comes back, hits, wounds! Tink! Saruman again comes back, engages, cannot do any damage. The hobbit's elusiveness through 13 rounds. Proving fell. Can Bilbo do more damage en route to pulling the upset? Engages, cannot hit. Saruman attacks, hits, wounds, slight smite to even the fight. Now, a very even fight, Pattyman, through 15. Are you nervous?
I am, actually.
Have you produced fecal matter in your pants yet?
Not quite.
Excellently done. Let us continue. Bilbo attacks. Misses. Yep. 2 wily characters here. They're going to do some dancing. Could be a longer fight. Back and forth. A hit. A wound.
There we go.
Smite for Saruman. His spell casting working. Through 20 rounds. Bilbo attacks. Misses. Saruman attacks. Hits. Wounds.
Yes.
Another slight smite taking Bilbo down to 6. To the very brink of death. Can Bilbo hang in? He attacks. misses. The wizard attacks, misses. The hobbit attacks, hits! No damage. Trying to throw rocks again there. Gonna have to use Sting. Saruman attacks, misses. Bilbo cannot engage. Saruman cannot engage. Bilbo engages, misses. Saruman misses. A hit by Bilbo. Again with a rock throw, but does no damage. Saruman hits, wounds, slay!
Okay, thank you.
And Patty Man takes a sigh of relief after one fight is in the books. And we are off and running in the Chamber of Death, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is having a pleasant evening. Drop some comments for it. Let's see what we got here. Someone says, I get what the farmer... People are not over Farmer Maggot. I can understand it. Farmer Maggot out on all digital platforms. It sounds like we had a lot of Glorfindel fans out there. I understand. Glorfindel, of course, got the bone in the movies by the producers themselves. He had no plot armor because he had no plot line. They gave all his stuff to Arwen.
Yes, they did.
Mr. Barrientos is saying Mary killed the Lord of all Balrogs last tournament too. Yes. Talk about an upset. Man, that was even more than Maggot though, right? I mean, you had Mary. This was a 16 against a 1, so your classic March Madness tournament format. It's a little bit different here in the Third Age Throwdown, but we started Middle-earth Madness in March with a 64 character First Age through Third Age grand tournament, right? And so that's 16 seeds versus 1 seeds in the first round. And yeah, as you can see here, Mary slew the Lord of Balrogs, whose name Gothmog. Sorry, Gothmog. Putting everyone on notice that upsets were indeed possible.
Yeah,
so
probably the greatest upset we'll ever see.
And you know what, Pattyman? It's worth taking a moment here. Let us give you your first points of the tournament, shall we?
Shower me with points.
Yes, I bestow upon you fantasy points. 20 of them. Look at that. You are now tied for 4th place.
Yes, dude. Not last.
Not last. You are not in last. Look at that. It even Guatel populated your green color or green row there on your total. You have fantasy points, sir.
Love to see it.
There you go. So, what is our next fight of the evening? Ah, yes. Boromir against Landroval. So, initial thoughts about this one, Patty Man, while I queue up the battle engine.
In a real-life scenario, I would see Boromir having a hard time wounding Landroval, just not being able to get to him.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not exactly how this is going to work. And I think he is going to do quite well.
He being Landroval?
Boromir. I think Boromir is going to do very well here.
Yeah, it's these Eagles, though, man. As we saw in the first tournament, I can't shake. So we had Thorondor and Gwaihir in that first tournament in March. This one we have Gwaihir has been slain already, and his little brother Landroval lives on, fights on. But yeah, Eagles are. Let's just show them the numbers because it's difficult to describe without seeing these numbers. Check this out, everyone. Eagles are sort of on purpose. It's how we designed it. A very weird type of critter. They are extremely elusive. I mean, obviously, right? They're agile and they're elusive. They're fast. They fly, and you don't. So, like you said, how do you hit them? Well, of course, we have to bake everything into this certain set of stats, right? That's what we've done here. But even within this set of stats, the blue line here is Landroval. Green line is Boromir, or if you prefer the stat table. Agility almost maxed out for Landroval. Elusiveness almost maxed out. Accuracy almost maxed out, although it's a sort of stun attack. His ranged attack doesn't have very good piercing. It's basically an eagle cry, which is similar to a Nazgul cry, which is similar actually to the horn of Boromir that we'll see in this very fight. So Boromir also very similar. You'll see his accuracy when he blows the horn of Gondor is 95. He doesn't miss with it, but also it's 40. It doesn't do much damage. So they actually have very similar ranged attacks, and neither one wants to use them. They're only going to use them 5% of the time. This is going to be a melee fight, right? So Talons against the Sword of Minas Tirith. So advantages to Landroval. He is much more agility-driven, much more elusive. So again, what do those stats mean? It's worth taking a second.
Interestingly,
agility.
Oh, go ahead.
Real quick. So yeah, agility is your ability to engage in combat. Engagement is your first step of the battle flow. You have to engage the enemy to strike the enemy. You have to strike the enemy to wound him or her, I guess. Shout out Galadriel or Shelob. And you have to wound to do any damage, right? That's the progression. So that's why your agility is important, is because it lets you engage. So Landroval is going to have no problem engaging. On the defensive side, your elusiveness is the opposite of agility, basically. It's your ability to avoid being engaged is elusiveness here. So Landroval excels in both of those. It's going to be difficult for Boromir to engage him. Let's see Boromir's agility. Where are we at here? Boromir's agility is a 79 against a 92 elusiveness, whereas Landroval's agility against Boromir's elusiveness means Landroval will always accomplish, almost always, not always, but he has a very good chance of getting past his first hurdle in each and every attack that he has. Did I say all that right, Patty Man? Does that make sense?
I think so. And I was just going to say, interestingly, Landroval has ever so slightly more agility than his elder brother, Gwaihir.
Yes. He is younger and slightly feistier. Whereas the big bro Gwaihir, stronger, right, with the striking. Excuse me, and things like that, right? So more damaging in melee, a little bit stronger, a little bit beefier, but a little bit bigger is the concept there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Oh, another comment here. What do we got? I imagine eagles not liking the horns of Gondor. Probably true, right? It's a highly irksome noise. But don't you imagine humans not liking like a shrill eagle cry? Maybe that one cuts both ways.
I would really want to know how loud an eagle cry would be from an eagle that large.
No kidding, right? I mean, they're like, I don't know where people get this, and it might not actually be true, but they post these diagrams that you guys have probably seen out there on the webs, right? Like, oh, you know, Gwaihir is the size of like a 747. Thorondor is like a stealth bomber or some shit, right? And then, you know, it goes up to Ancalagon is like a flying cruise ship, and things like this. It's fun to look at and think about, right? But I don't know where they're pulling their data from. Ooh, David. It looks like David's confident that Boromir will take this one.
I agree.
Who owns Campy owns Boromir in our fantasy league, so he needs this win. I think Patty Man owns Landroval. Is that right?
I had Gwaihir, actually.
Patty Man, oh, yeah, Gwaihir. So does Hunty own Landroval?
I do not know. I thought maybe Engine Chief?
Oh, maybe so.
Let me see real quick.
This one's super even, though, man. I mean, it said quite favorable odds in the matchup to Boromir, but as we just established, Boromir's going to have a tough time engaging Landroval.
Yeah. It's actually Hunty. He's got Landroval.
Okay, cool. And so Hunty. This one, kind of any more useful information I can give you guys before we fight this? magic not strong for either character, but Landroval, again, the Eagles are a divine race of Manwë from the old country. They're actually a lot older than most readers would think. It's possible, just to give you guys a reference point, that the Eagles partook in the Last Alliance. It's possible. I don't think it's possible that Landroval or Gwaihir were in the First Age, okay? But I believe they were as far back as the Second Age. So that's the Last Alliance all the way back through, the breaking of the world and the sinking of Beleriand and the creation of Númenor. And if you paid attention to the Rings of Power preview there, the trailer, you do see a great eagle in Númenor. I don't have any lore to back that up, but I also didn't research it. So drop a comment and fact check us on that one, guys. We'll leave that one to the audience.
I'm not sure about that one.
I don't know if they were ever in. I'm not saying I know either way. I'm not even going to guess. They might have been in Númenor. I'm just saying they're old. Like Landroval and Gwaihir have been around a while, and so they do have some magic as a race. Animals are more susceptible to noise in terms of it spooking them. Also true. Yep. So, you like Boromir in this one too, Patty Man?
Yes, sir.
I like Boromir's armor rating. Landroval has no armor. That's his main weakness. Armor and piercing and magic. Magic's better than Boromir. So, shall we fight and see?
Indeed.
Indeed. Let us fight. In the second fight of the night, we have Boromir against the great eagle Landroval. Let us fight. First attack to Landroval. Engages but cannot hit. Boromir comes back. Hits. Doesn't wound. Landroval misses. Boromir cannot engage. Landroval engages, can't hit. Boromir can't even engage. I'm sensing a theme already. We might have called this right, Patty Man. How often can Boromir actually engage? Because if he can hit the eagle, he's going to wound and he's going to do damage, right? That's his advantage. His disadvantage is actually hitting him in the first place. Landroval comes back. Actually, hasn't done much better himself in engaging Boromir. Boromir can't engage. Landroval can't engage. They're dancing. Back and forth. Back and forth. Through 14 rounds. Boy, neither way. There's a hit by Landroval. No damage. Boromir blocks it with his shield. Boromir cannot engage. Landroval engages, can't hit. Boromir barely engage. He uses the Horn of Gondor. No damage. Landroval can't engage. Neither can Boromir. We're going to be here for a while. A hit by Landroval. No damage. Another hit by Landroval. Our first wound. But Boromir, it's a teak. Boromir blocks most of that one. Comes back. Can't engage. Landroval can't engage. A hit by Boromir, finally. But no damage. Just a glancing blow. Back and forth they go through 30 rounds. A hit and a wound by the eagle.
Wow.
Previously slashed with the talons all the way down to 30 points. And Boromir has been put on upset alert. But you are never out of the fight if you are a man of Gondor. Boromir comes back, hits, does no damage. Landroval attacks, misses. Boromir hits, wounds! And there he gets a slash in on the Bertie. But only a minor one. Landroval still with the advantage through 35. He misses. Boromir hits, wounds! Slain with the stroke! And Boromir wins. Woo! That one was close until it wasn't.
It's kind of how we thought it would go, though.
That one wound. Yep, no armor for the poor Bertie, right? Ooh, man. I was afraid Boromir was going to lose that for a while.
Having eagle stew tonight.
Yeah. Tastes like chicken. All right, so let's go Boromir. We have a Boromir fan in the house. That scores points for who? Let us see.
Campy.
Is it Campy? Yeah, it's Campy. Campy! Whenever you watch this, he is absent tonight. But he is earning points. Up to 40. Good for Campy. Nice win there for Boromir after the initial scare.
Yeah, I think he put up a better fight than Guahir.
Indeed. All right. So we are off and running. We're halfway done with our fights tonight. Lamentably. Who do we got next? Ah, yes. The dwarf versus the ent. Thorin against Treebeard. Take it away, Patty Man. Give us your thoughts on these guys while I cue it up.
Well, they come with axes. They come with fire. I think he's going to chop that tree down.
Uh-oh. Yes. Ents do not like dwarves. This is true.
No, they do not. Less so than orcs, but I think Thorin's got a good chance here.
Based on him just being a hard ass?
Just being a badass, yep.
Yep. He does. So he does fight with a enchanted blade. You know, he has Orcrist, as you can see in the logo there. This is what? This is a 8 against a 3. So like last night that we saw with Azog against Aragorn, the 8s aren't as disadvantaged against the 3s as you might think. It's pretty close there in the middle. That said, I mean, once we look at the numbers here in a sec, you will see some significant advantages for Treebeard. Lore-wise, you know, not a ton to say. These are both pretty well-known characters. Thorin was a stout warrior as dwarves go. He's not quite on the level of Dane, but both of them fought in the War of Dwarves and Orcs before the events of The Hobbit, right? And there, the Battle of Azanul Bizarre outside the gates of Moria, there was a huge battle, and Azog was actually pretty much the champion of both sides of that one. But in the end, it was actually Dane, Thorin's cousin from the Iron Hills, that hewed down Azog and decapitated the orc. But before he did that, Azog was able to hew down, what was it, Nain, who's the Lord of Erebor in exile. So they were, let me think. No, I'm sorry, this was before the events of The Hobbit, so the dwarves of Erebor were still in Erebor at that point in time. I think I'm saying that right.
I think it was King Thror.
Was it Thror? What about Nain?
I don't remember Nain.
Okay, so King Thror was slain by Azog in Azanul Bizarre. Anyway, he was avenged rather shortly and rather swiftly by Dane. And of course, that's the battle in which Thorin earned his nickname, Oakenshield, because his shield was shattered, and he had to pick up the oak branch. And the movie actually did a pretty cool job of telling the story, right? In that flashback scene, the first Hobbit movie is actually quite good. We talked about this on a previous pod, didn't we? But we all like that first Hobbit movie. It's just the problem is it starts going a little bit south from there, right? But yeah, Thorin Oakenshield against Treebeard. Let us see how the numbers play out here. All right. Green line Treebeard, blue line Thorin. What stands out to you, Patty Man?
First thing that I see is they are pretty even. There's only
Yeah.
a slight advantage in some spots.
Mm-hmm. So for Treebeard, the ferocity and the striking. He is going to prefer ranged combat with his boulder toss, Treebeard is. Whereas Thorin, of course, wants to use Orcrist. A prudent decision. So Orcrist, striking is similar here. 86 with Orcrist, 90 with the gnarled fists of Treebeard. Treebeard's armor is decent. Thorin's is better. You know, Mithril is better than tree bark. Let's be honest.
We've got that 84 piercing, which is pretty good.
Yeah, both are tough bastards on defense. So Treebeard doesn't get too much tougher than that as a race. Toughness is your ability to withstand damage absent the armor rating. Okay, so it's in the last phase of the battle. Toughness is 1/30 of your ability to withstand damage. So both of them will be good at that. Treebeard's disadvantages, dexterity. Okay. So he cannot dodge ranged attacks. And his elusiveness as well is poor. So he's going to have a tough time engaging. However, that's going to be minimized because he's going to want to use ranged combat, right? He's not going to try to engage. He's going to try to hunk boulders. But look, battlefield conditions favor Treebeard. And so, still about 35% of the time, each of these characters is going to have to go to their backup weapon, their less favorable weapon. So that'll be something to watch for sure. Who do you guys like in this one?
I'm rooting for the dwarf.
Thorin. Nice comment there by Mr. Box.
It does.
Orcrist. Thanks, man. Yeah, we a lot of work went into this artwork. It's but it was fun. I mean, it's one of the most fun things about the project is reimagining all these characters kind of from scratch, and that's what we've tried to do is sort of get the movies out of it. Although you hit the one counter example, right? Because we actually did use a movie-ish version of Orcrist. Because I love that little inlay that he had. And so we did model this kind of on the movie version of the blade, full candor. I just couldn't think of a better one. Plus, it's an elvish blade wielded by a dwarf, which is kind of odd, right? So we wanted to keep it elvish looking.
Yeah, I can't lie. The Peter Jackson interpretation of the weapons is fantastic.
So good.
But
Weta Workshop.
I do like the fact that we are not using the interpretation of the characters from the movie. It's kind of nice to see a fresh look at what these characters might look like.
Good. Glad to hear you say that, man. That was totally the vibe that we were going for and the wavelength that we were on. Just start from scratch. That's one of the fun things. As anyone who watched the Ultimate Tolkien tournament heard us say back in March, we almost didn't do art for this project, right? The graphics, as you can tell, is not the focus. This is a very Dungeons and Dragons sort of concept. We want, and I probably haven't done a great enough job of encouraging enough creativity with this, right? But really, the fun of this is for everyone to try to picture yourself how these battles would look and imagine for yourself what's going on in these one-on-one scenarios, most of which would never happen in the stories and in the lore. That's exactly the point, right? That's exactly the fun. Like, Treebeard's never going to fight Thorin. But what if they did?
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know about you, Adam, but have you ever played like those old school, like text-based adventure games?
Exactly. Yeah.
Where you type in where you want to go and then it produces an output.
Oh, totally. Exactly. You know, Engine Chief used to he's made a couple of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He'll have to
back
share
on the old, like, I don't even know what those computers were in the late 80s, early 90s.
Like a
little green text Macs.
Yeah, those Mac 200s or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, I get nostalgic for those things. That's a big part of my childhood is getting on there. And, I mean, he had a zoo game for us that was cool. But, no graphics. You're just picturing all this in your head. And something to be said about that, man. So that's part of what we're trying to bring back here and hopefully folks like it. Hopefully, there's at least a handful of folks out there that can appreciate the sort of lo-fi quality here, because it's intentional. It's also unintentional in the sense that, like, yeah, we don't have a huge development budget here. We're hoping to roll products out.
It's quite charming.
Deeply. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so picture these fights, people. We picture them how you want them, right? Like, we give you a little head start with the little logos. That's just how we see the characters. So same as an illustration in a book. Well, again, most of which I never cared for, the illustrations in books, because I'm sitting there trucking along, picturing a character a certain way, and then an illustration comes along, and you're like, "Eh. No, dude, he looked like this. Like, he did not look like that. What are you doing?"
A great example of that is actually the Balrog.
Really?
The way he's depicted, or the way they're depicted in the books, they don't necessarily have wings.
True.
But that's the way they chose to represent them in the movies.
Yep, exactly. Good example. Yeah, I think of a few books that come to mind, like, Harry Potter too. I mean, I know there's kind of this online rivalry between Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I'm one of those people. I love them both, and I think there's nothing wrong with loving them both. I got into Potter way later in life, so I read those like as a full grown man, whereas I read Lord of the Rings. My dad read it to us as kids, and The Hobbit as young kids. And then I think he read us Lord of the Rings age like 8 or 9 and through there. I was introduced to all those books way before Harry Potter, which is probably the opposite of how most people approach it. Maybe not.
But I definitely was the opposite. I was exposed to Harry Potter like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Read like 2 or 3 of those books, and it wasn't until my teenage years that Lord of the Rings, I became a massive fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I love them both, but my point with that was only the illustrations and whatever version of Harry Potter I had were another good example of that, where you're chucking along and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this, and then the illustrations are like, yeah, I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Turn the page. Speaking of turning the page, shall we fight?
Let them fight.
Let them fight. In the third fight of the evening, we have Treebeard against Thorin Oakenshield. Let us fight. The first attack to Treebeard with the boulder. Instantly he was forced to use his gnarled fists. But
interestingly, he's quick enough to attack first.
Yes. But he cannot. But yeah, he's not agile enough to engage. Thorin attacks, cannot hit. Treebeard attacks, hits, wounds, tink. Ooh, just a glancing blow, lucky for Thorin. Thorin counters, hits, wounds, and evens the fight. Treebeard attacks, hits, wounds. Ooh, he's not getting direct hits with the boulder smash. Lucky for Thorin. And they're going back and forth here early. A miss by Thorin. A hit and a wound by Treebeard. Again, minimal damage. Good dwarvish armor. Thorin counters, misses. Treebeard attacks, cannot engage. Neither can engage. And they're dancing. Back and forth. Past 13 rounds. A hit and a wound by Treebeard. Smite, drawing blood from Thorin. Advantage Treebeard through 15 rounds. Can Thorin wield Orcrist and get a slash through that tree bark? Let us see. Not that time. Back and forth. Through 20 rounds, a series of misses there. Who can engage first? It's Thorin with a wound, only slight damage. Treebeard counters, misses. Thorin misses. Treebeard can't engage. Thorin, a hit and a wound! Evens the fight a little bit with his blade. We got a pretty even one here through 26 rounds. Treebeard hunks a boulder, hits, no damage. Thorin counters, a hit, no damage. Back and forth they go through 30 rounds. A boulder toss, again, a miss. A miss by Thorin. Back and forth, they're dancing. Back and forth through 36 rounds. And through 40 rounds, a hit and a wound! Little more damage for Treebeard. Slight, though. Thorin counters, another slash! A wound! Slay! And Thorin Oakenshield pulls the 8-3 upset.
Well done.
The second one of the tournament. And Treebeard leaves us. Thorin, wow. So we are 2 out of 3, 8 versus 3 upsets. In other words, 2 out of those 8-3 matchups have been upsets. That's pretty interesting. Good fight there, though.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Did you? Yeah, you did.
I thought he would take that one.
So, who gets the points in that predicament? Let us see.
I believe both are engine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is his conflict of interest. So, Treebeard is slain. He's going bye-bye. So we'll knock him out. But we will give Thorin, how many points? That's a 5-3 upsets. Same as Azog, 30-point win. Engine Chief has both of our 8-3 upsets. Look at this. And that brings him to 113, right behind Chucky and Auntie. Yes, very interesting. That just got even more interesting. Yeah, so again, he loses a character to make that happen. Maybe his strongest one. Well, Galadriel and Beor. Very nice. All right, so how's everyone out there doing? How you guys liking the fight so far? Let us know in the comments. Yes, axes. Keep the axes away from the Ents. They do not like them. And actually, Treebeard was slain by a dwarf back in March, in the March tournament too, wasn't he? It was Dane. Or Azagad. Dane, yeah. Interesting. That's twice now. Ents keep running up against dwarves, and that's a poor matchup for them. Who is next? Oh, yes. An evil on evil fight to end the night. We have Gorbag against the dragon Smaug. Patty Man, give us your thoughts if you would.
Feeling like having a crispy orc tonight.
Indeed.
He's going to toast him up.
Is he?
I believe so. There's no way Gorbag can kill Smaug. I will believe it.
Yeah, you refuse.
I refuse.
Yeah. Yep, fair enough. Everyone watching, drop it in the comments. Let us know who you like in this one. Obviously, 9 versus 2 should not be that close. That said, I would expect Smaug to take some damage in this. A few wounds at least. What do you think a fair number would be, Patty Man? Where should we handicap it? 75?
I wouldn't expect him to lose more than 25% of his health. Yeah.
Yeah, so 75-ish. So we'll see if... let us know in the comments if you guys are taking the over or the under if we handicap that one at 75 damage for Gorbag. Ooh. His, let's see, his numbers. Let's see how the data looks in the projection here. Got that up? Yeah. So, green line Smaug, blue line Gorbag. Oof. Oof. This is, look, aside from agility and elusiveness, this is, well, and stamina. Smaug has all the advantages. Yeah, so again, Smaug's going to want to hang back and use Dragonfire. Why engage the orc if you don't have to, right? He's got really good ferocity. He's got decent striking. And that's kind of it. I mean, he's got decent toughness.
As long as Smaug doesn't play with his dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
He should be fine.
Don't play with your food, Smaug. He's going to want to, like you said, roast the orc, not screw around. Ugh. Yeah, I'm kind of liking the under on 75 now that I look at the numbers. Ooh. Mr. Box is saying Smaug could win the whole tournament. He easily could win the whole tournament. I mean, look at these numbers, right? I agree. Well, okay, so look, he does have a couple weaknesses. He's not elusive. He's a dragon. That's the curse of their race. They're big. They're lumbering. Although Smaug can fly, arguably the agility maybe should be a little higher. But at the end of the day, he's a bloody dragon. That's just the curse of his race. He's not terribly accurate with his dragon fire, but it's just lethal if it hits you. He's got ridiculous toughness. It's just, he's a tank. What can you say?
He's a flying fortress, man.
He is. And he's a 2. Yeah, he's elite. So, enough said, man. Let's see what happens in this one. Shall we fight? Let us fight. In the final fight of the evening, in the Isengard region, we have Smaug against Gorbag. Let us fight! First attack. To Smaug. Instantly draws blood, but only a little. Gorbag counters. Misses. Smaug hits. Cannot wound. Gorbag counters. Can't engage. Smaug can't hit. Gorbag. Back and forth they go, dancing a little bit in the early rounds. A hit and a wound for Smaug. Just very slight damage. Again with the accuracy. He's only heating him up and maybe singeing the long, probably very ratty hair of Gorbag.
Must smell terrible.
Yes, the stench of it. Can you imagine? There's a wound by the beast. Slight smite, but for 31 damage. Advantage to Smaug through 11 rounds. Gorbag can't hardly even hit. Another hit, and a wound by Smaug, taking him down to 33. He is not playing with his food, Patty Man. Gorbag attacks, can't do any damage. Smaug counters, wounds, tink. Gorbag back at him, a hit and a wound. Smite. And there, anyone who took the over wins the bet. Nice wound there by Gorbag. But will it be the last or the first of a few? Let us see. Smaug attacks. He hits. He wounds! Slay! Convincing victory by Smaug. The dragon wins.
Nice crispy orc.
Nice crispy orc. Wow. So that one was a good way to end the night because we hit the over, made everyone in Vegas some money. And the 2 seed advances. So, Patty Man, what do you think of tonight's fights, man? Give us your sort of recap on that one, if you would.
Well, I think everything was pretty chalked up, except for that upset by Thorin.
Ah, yes.
We're
going to be talking about that one for a while.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we'll see some more 8-3 upsets. That's the magic number, I think.
Man, it seems to be kind of like your 12-5 in March Madness, right? There always seem to be a handful of those. Thorin Oakenshield, man.
I do expect Smaug to desolate a lot of characters moving forward, though.
Ah, see what you did there.
Hey.
And I agree. Yeah, like and the commenter earlier agrees as well. So we got some love for Smaug in the house.
I think that was one lucky wound, very lucky wound by Gorbag.
Gorbag the whorebag.
Gorbag the whorebag.
Hey man, most characters might not even be able to do any damage against a behemoth like Smaug. Let's see here. I'm trying to pull up the bracket. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, here we go. So, quick recap of the evening. Saruman defeats Bilbo and advances to take on Boromir in the Sweet 16, or the third round, as it were. The Silmaril 16 around here. Boromir, as we said, obviously, defeats Landroval to enter into that matchup against Saruman. Down here, Thorin pulls the 8-3 upset against Treebeard and will advance to take on Smaug. Hey.
That's
straight out of the book.
Lore accurate.
It is lore accurate. That'll be a cool one. Yes, indeed. So those are your fights to look forward to next round. Should be good ones in both cases. I want to say these two actually fought in March. Is that right?
I can't recall.
The internet will know. So someone drop it in the comments if these two fought. I want to say they did. Quick look ahead to tomorrow's fights. Hattie Man, tomorrow we've got Durin's Bane, the Balrog of Khazad-dûm.
I have been waiting for Durin's Bane. This is going to be great to see him in the tournament.
Yes.
Whoever has that man is going to get some points.
Yes. Who does have? Oh, Chucky has him. Yeah. Good to beat Chucky in this tournament. This one's maybe my favorite of the match. This will be fun too.
Interesting.
Radagast against Legolas. Yeah, that'll be all kinds of fun. Ooh, this one too. We have it's not a 7 versus 3, so apparently that advantages Bjorn, doesn't it? Because those 8-3s have been unlucky, but this one is a 7-3.
He's a higher seed than Bjorn is a higher seed than I thought he was.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers, man. So you're saying that based on the last tournament, right, which he was a middle seed, like an 8 or a 9, maybe in that field.
Oh yeah, that might be why.
But once you trim out all the first and second age characters, he becomes a 3.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll end tomorrow night with Theoden against Elrond. So join us, everyone. It's going to be fun. Those are going to be some good fights. Well, at least 2 of them. Top and bottom one could be beatdowns. We will see. So, Patty Man, final thoughts. And everyone watching tonight, drop your final thoughts in the comments before we wrap. Some good fights tonight, including an upset we'll be talking about for a while.
Final thoughts. I think we're going to have one hell of a final tournament here. Final Fell 4. And I think there's going to be some characters in there that we were not anticipating, which makes for much more interesting fights.
Indeed. Yeah, I think that's a safe prediction. You got me curious now. I'm looking at the highest seeds left in this thing. Well, we don't know about. Let's do that after the next region because we don't have our full Sweet 16 yet here. But Maggot has proved himself very worthy to be around here with his Hounds of Hell, apparently. Thorin, impressive upset tonight. Azog, impressive upset last night. You got some heavy hitters kind of unexpectedly emerging, like you're saying.
Yeah, and even some of those mid seeds like Círdan and Elladan, both are doing very well.
Yeah, Círdan and exactly.
Both fine.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Oh, someone doesn't recognize Círdan. I guess that could have been for Elladan. Elladan is one of the half-elven twins. Círdan is, well, as Josh would say, Círdan the shit wipe.
Not accurate.
Once you hear it, you can't unhear it, man. No. It's Círdan the shipwright, not Círdan the shit wipe. I just wanted to clear that up for people.
Hater alert! Hater alert! Hater alert!
Exactly. We make it a point to be. All right. Well, on that note, we're getting silly up in here. Do the stuff in red, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing. Again, all this is free, but what it does is it helps us bring you the news for the next cool games and products and content that we got in the pipeline. So I know it sounds like false promises because these things take a while to roll out, but with a little bit of patience and a little bit of trust, you'll be in good stead because we're rolling out some sweet stuff that's in the pipeline for all you guys. So keep it tuned in to whatever social platforms you like. Follow us on all those. Give us some likes to help out the algorithms and the SEO on the back end. That helps us out. We would much appreciate all of that. Thank you also to our first and only sponsor, D-Lab Hot Sauce. Some kick-ass hot sauce from Texas. Get you some.
Still can't wait.
DLabHotSauce.com. This stuff is the real deal. I can say, objectively speaking, my breakfast eggs, there's no going back, man. There's no going back to just like plain scrambled eggs or fried eggs. I know the sauce is much more versatile. You can use it on all kind of stuff. But dude, in my family, even my daughter, my wife, they're like, pass the hot sauce. I don't want like plain scrambled eggs or plain grits anymore. This really does it up, and he's got like, I don't know, like 16 different kinds, small batch stuff, and more like, well, all of it's small batch stuff, but like some, I don't even know what he calls it, like
limited runs,
micro run batch, something like that. He grows his own peppers. It's all good stuff. So everyone go check out D-Lab Hot Sauce. Do it to it.
Yeah, all natural. Don't have to worry about pesticides or whatever nonsense.
100%, man. And the other good thing is you're talking to a guy who doesn't like pickles. I get ripped on a lot. Like, pickling vegetables is fucking foul. Like, take that shit out of here. And the problem is, it's basically just vinegar, right? But
brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Pickles. Yeah. But D-Lab, they use just very little, if any, vinegar in some of these sauces. So it really changes the profile. Like, you taste the peppers, you taste the smoke a lot more. You're not just getting like Tabasco vinegar with a little bit of kick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't wait to try it. I ordered 3 bottles, I think.
Attaway. Yeah, you won't be disappointed.
I'm really excited for that salsa verde.
So is it the Viper Verde?
Viper Verde, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's maybe my favorite. It's certainly, well, at least for me, like what I eat, it's the most versatile because you can use it on all kind of stuff. It's good stuff.
From someone who eats hot sauce on a daily basis, I'm super excited.
Get some. And with that, last words, Patty Man.
I just am putting all my faith in Saruman. I really hope he does well. But if he doesn't, either way, I'm having fun watching this whole tournament play out. Again, I really want some of these upset guys to get into the Final Four. Very reminiscent of last tournament with Belegest.
Bella, yes. So he made that hell into the Final Four.
Yes.
As I want to say a 9 seed. Yeah, Dude, that was awesome. I have a feeling it's going to happen again. Thorin, maybe someone in tomorrow's region, Dane or Theoden. Yeah, Theoden's got to beat Elrond. Probably not going to be Theoden.
That's a rough matchup.
That's probably not going to happen.
But you never know.
Maggot's a contender, of course, with those woofs. You never know. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, Patty Man. Appreciate you. And appreciate everyone who tuned in to watch tonight. Yeah, tune in again tomorrow night, man. It's only going to get better. These fights only get better as the tournament progresses. And more points, of course, are on the line. So, yeah, like we said before, catch us on social media on your favorite platform. Drop more comments. Like we want to engage with you and know, what you guys' thoughts are, and it better informs us as to what directions to take next and what sort of order to roll content out in. So let us know.
For those of you on Discord, I think I'm going to be building a Discord page.
Excellently done. Please do. That'll be fun.
Yes. Look forward to it.
All right. Well, like we said before, thanks everyone for watching. And until the next battle, remember, as Professor Tolkien says, you can only come to the morning through the shadows. And where there is life, there is always hope. You are never out of the fight